I'm starting the recording again.
Okay, I will start. Can I start right now?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I wanted to emphasize something that I didn't say before we took a little break. Those tunnels that I was in are open to anybody. You can go in those tunnels. You could do those tunnels now, except you're not going to do that because I told you not to. But basically, the tunnels have no snow in them, with the exception of where they leak. And so at the beginning, it looks like something out of Dr. Zhivago at the beginning of the tunnel, ice and snow. Once you get past that, you basically just got ice seeping through the top of the snow shed. So if you wait until it all melts, you can walk a long, long, long way. For God's sakes, be sure you bring a flashlight. It's not a bad idea to bring somebody else with you, and wear a coat. It's cold in there. And you will notice when you start, there is a gate there. The gate is not to stop you. The gate is to stop cars. And the reason the gate is there, because it didn't used to be, was somebody, and once I was in it, a car came through it. Somebody drove a car through the tunnel, or all the way to the end, ended up on the railroad tracks that were live. And SP at that point was not impressed to have cars on their tracks. So you can certainly do it, and we'll talk about it a little later, but that's something you can do. Just don't do it now. It's an icicle mess. Okay, back to safety. Mark and Sue are two people I would like to live next door to. Mark seems like a fun guy. Sue seems like a person who keeps Mark under control. I think Mark needs to be kept under control. But this is how Mark and Sue took a trip up to Donner Pass, and we're going to watch about only 10 minutes of it. It goes on and on and on and on, and they're going to be in these tunnels too. But we're going to talk about how Mark and Sue tell you how not to do it, and this is what you're not going to want to do.
Good morning. Today we're off to the China Wall, right below Truckee. We're still outside of Reno, and we heard about this trail. The China Wall is actually dedicated to the Chinese laborers that had built the railroad through the worst part of the east-west railway. So we're packed up. We're gonna hike. Mark's got his new hiking boots on. I think we're about ready to go. Are you ready? Let's do it.
Don't click away yet just because you're looking at me. Let's get going, Sue.
We're heading down Interstate 80 just west of Truckee, California, and Donner's Lake. It was about a 40-minute ride from our Reno KOA RV park. We drove up Donner Pass Road, which was a very windy road, and at about 7,200 feet in elevation. So we're near Donner Summit right now. We're actually going to be heading up there to the China Wall. I gotta show you where we're at. It's just amazing. We took a winding road that was constantly going up, and we are just west of Donner Lake. What a view.
You know, sometimes when you find yourself ready to have a challenging hike like this ahead of you, you have to think, where am I going to start on this trek? And I've pretty much decided that I'm going to start here.
The most difficult terrain to lay the railroad tracks was through the Sierra Nevada mountains. If it weren't for the Chinese immigrants, the Central Pacific Railroad would not have been built. They at first thought the Chinese were too small for this job and only hired 50 Chinese laborers. Their hard work and dependability soon had 3,000 more hired. For roughly 4 years, more than 8,000 Chinese workers were hired. Okay, I think I see our first challenge. We're going to have to cross this stream. They had a lot of snow this past winter, and the water was running high and fast this spring. These walking sticks certainly came in handy. Yay!
Don't get me. Hey.
Those shoes or boots are really working. Successfully crossed the stream, and now we're going up the rocks and through the snow. All right, I'm checking out a different way to get up here, just getting a different view. There's the China Wall. And there's Mark taking off without me.
So I thought I'd capture Sue coming up the hill here, but then I kind of noticed that as good looking as she is, there's actually a better view this way, at least for the moment.
Oh, I'm insulted. Wow.
So I'm standing up here, taking a rest while I wait for Sue. Sue is doing some filming. It's not that I'm faster than her, but I have to admit I'm like half heart attack mode right now, so I'm going to take a little rest.
Here's one of the China Walls. It's actually stones and rocks that were created by blasting the tunnels. There's one of them. I think that's the longest one. They had to fill in this ravine to make sure it's all level. It's actually all hand-placed rocks, no mortar. Amazing. 150 years ago made.
So here's the entrance to the center tunnel in the three that we're going to see. That's a real little shorty. This one here, this one's longer. Don't know how long, I'd have to look it up.
I think it's the longest.
And then I'm thinking in the other direction, back through this little tunnel. That's the long one, graffiti, you can't actually see it.
So we've heard that from other vloggers and bloggers that when you come up here, you probably don't want to come alone because it can feel kind of creepy. We'll see. Mark's here to protect me. A lot of graffiti. There is art everywhere.
Colorful.
Yeah. It's hard to believe these snowdrifts are that tall, and it's June 3rd.
To give you some idea on how much it must snow around here in winter, I'm 5'8", and you can look at how much taller this snowbank is, realizing that it's June 3rd right now. So you'd think it had a chance to melt a little bit, but apparently not. See down here, this pipe? It's coming from the rig.
Oh, Mark. I thought you closed the valve. Ah, another obstacle. Major muck. So this tunnel is even longer than the one we did before. You can see the end. And woo, a lot more color going on in here. So this is actually the second longest tunnel. And we can tell right now, just the breeze coming out of it, it is significantly cooler. So we're gonna start layering up. Should have brought an umbrella. We remembered the warm coat, but not the umbrella. Somebody from Manitowoc. Oh, it's Manny. Nice try.
Don't be scared, honey, it's your husband.
I know, I'm leaving soon. Yep, that's Mark. Any tunnel we go through, he has to whistle.
Now you know how Lewis and Clark felt.
Really?
Yeah, they're probably glad they had these sticks.
We made it in, but will we make it out?
Woo, I did it!
I love those boots!
Wow. It's like a summer day again.
Just like that, it changed.
Wow.
So to get an idea on how high up we came, you can see there's the road we came in, and there's our van, right there. Tricky our hike up into this last and longest tunnel, because it's all snowed in still. So what does it look like? Because it's so warm out, the snow is actually pretty slushy and icy. Ooh. Yeah, I don't think we're going down in there. So we've got a pretty steep slope here, and it'd be pretty hard to get down and to get up. But this is the tunnel I wanted to go into, because way in the back it does get darker, but you can see there's some light back there that's slats in the wall where it actually lets the light shine in. And this is a tunnel that's supposed to have some really amazing graffiti. I mean art, not just words, images, portraits. Very cool. This is also the tunnel that has cool ceilings. They actually look kind of marbleized. Art everywhere.
Yeah, it's like...
So I decided to make my way.
Okay, that's 10 minutes of Mark and Sue. Let me tell you a little bit about Mark and Sue and what they did here. I have to apologize here. To show the video, I can't see anybody, so I'm talking to a wall now. So I assume somebody's out there. Mark and Sue parked right about there. And the China wall they were talking about is right about there. And they walked up, which actually was the Immigrant Trail. I don't know where the Donner Party went. They went right there. They walked up there, and he was on. This is the bed of the railroad with the rails moved. And you notice he had snow to walk down, he had snow to walk up, he had mud, he had water, he had cold, he had ice, and everything else. And you think to yourself, hope he was ready for that kind of stuff. And Mark didn't exactly strike me as an Olympic athlete here. He even talked about halfway in heart attack mode. I'm sure he was just figure of speech, but no. So I put the title up here, Why Not Be Safe? And I'm going to tell you folks this, because if you guys are going to do anything, this is the one you can do, because it's flat. Now, Mark's big mistake, and he wouldn't call it a mistake, and I wouldn't either, but if Mark wanted to make this easy, he goes on the road, which is where he is. He goes all the way up here, goes past the bridge, which is right about here, goes all the way up, and parks right there, which is the parking lot of Donner Ski Ranch, which is over here. It is also, this flat area is where Southern Pacific had a bunch of equipment 100 years ago. There's a little later in week 4, we talked about the railroad. This was like a city right here. And now it's flat, and there are remnants of the railroad there still. You park right here, and you can park there, just drive in. You basically get in this tunnel right about there, and you start walking, and you come all the way through here. It's flat. You saw how flat it was when Mark and Sue were wandering around, making sure the snow is gone. You wander through here, and you get to the China wall there, totally flat. You can keep going. And this really, technically speaking, this is not a tunnel, it's a snow shed. The longest tunnel, by the way, was the second to last one they were in. This is tunnel 6 that the Chinese railroad workers, which was the longest tunnel in the world up to that point, and the highest tunnel in the world. So the bottom line is, they come up here, they can see tunnel 6. You can see the initial roadbed of the Southern Transcontinental Railroad done by the Central Pacific. You can pass up, the petroglyphs are right there. You can also see right here is the first overpass. Some people say it's the first overpass ever, or underpass, of the Lincoln Highway. They shot past that. You saw that little entrance under the road. It looked like a little opening under the road. That was the Lincoln Highway. Then you could walk right here, and you were on Donner Pass. There's no Donner Pass, the Immigrant Trail. This is Donner Pass right there. And you can keep taking it. There's better, more interesting examples of the Immigrant Trail all the way down the mountain. So they could have done all that and never got off flat. As that guy was coming to snow, all I kept thinking was post holing in the snow, his feet going in, then he had the mud, then he had slippery. And not that something probably wouldn't have happened, but you get hurt up there, life gets a little harder. So the bottom line is, if you ever do this particular one, you can start right there. It's not hard to find. And in general, lights, map, tell somebody where you're going, food, water. Don't be like me. I try to be better, but I just can't do it. And you can actually get the Immigrant Trail, which to me is the high point of the whole thing, right there. So why not be safe, folks? It just makes a whole lot more sense than hurting yourself. So we finished there, and I'll take some questions in a second, but this is week one, places to go and things to see after the snow melts. Pardon me for belaboring it, but it's not time to be up there now. It is not time. You can certainly see the petroglyphs. They are just below the Donner Memorial Bridge on the right side of Highway 40. I think I just pointed those out. I'll do it again right here. So he parked there. The petroglyphs are right there. Matter of fact, that creek he walked across, that's right there too. It's right there too. Then you got the Summit Valley grinding holes in Summit Valley west of the pass. That's over here. You take my cursor and keep going. You just go down the road and you get there. It used to be a lake. It used to be called Lake Van Norden. Now it's a big meadow, which is a whole nother story. People aren't too happy about that up there either. That's, again, another story. So there's grinding holes up there. And the Martis Indian Cave is in Martis Valley off Highway 267. That's this right here. It's by the airport. And once it gets warm, and the snow might melt there a little early, I'm not quite sure. But you know what? There's no hurry. It's not going anywhere. And it's an easy walk, and you can get to this tunnel, or this, this cave. And it's interesting, what's in it is a bunch of satanic stuff, because the kids have been up there. Some kids have been up there, and they have left their mark, so to speak. So those three things are week one. We'll see more next week, but these are places you folks can go. Now, very important here, none of these places have websites devoted to them. For specific directions, Google their names as listed above. So you Google Donner Pass petroglyphs, Summit Valley grinding holes, and Martis Indian Cave, and then they will come up, and it's the directions that you would get from there are going to be much clearer than any directions you're going to get from me. Okay. Now, next week, hope you have some questions here in a second. Next week, first success on the pass. We're going to talk a lot about how people didn't get across the pass, but we talk about early explorers and immigrants, the first ones who finally got across. This is actually the pass in the summer. That's just what it looks like. If you're wondering what this is the Lincoln Highway going across the pass. This pass everybody's been across this pass. I suspect when they first found it, it was just a bunch of weeds, but a bunch of vegetation. And it's awfully wet because the water comes off the hill, but it's been a lot. It's been the Lincoln Highway. It's been the Immigrant Trail. It's been quite a bit of stuff, but this is pretty much what it looks like now, depending on how overgrown it is. And it's an easy walk. It's a loop. You can walk down to Highway 40 and make a loop and come around. So that's the early explorers. Talk about the first success on the pass, and we'll find out the group of people that should be the most famous that are the least famous, and what Donner Pass really should be named. A lot of people would say it should not be named Donner Pass. Where do these people go? Because their relatives are still here. They are around. They're all over the state. When these guys got there, and we'll talk about this a little bit, there were between 10 and 15,000 immigrants in the state of California. So you could do a lot of stuff, and you could become really famous really fast because there was nobody there, and they did. And finally, what did they leave? What can you see? What can you do? What remnants they have of what's there? So week one is always a little short. I always have a hard time with week one because it's kind of the driest part, but it gets a longer next week. And I do appreciate your listening and your coming, all 67 of you folks. In the meantime, are there any questions? Or are we going to